out because we're going to talk about program budgeting. So I'll try to make it as positive as I can. In February and March, the program committees got together as they have in the past. I believe that we followed the same protocol, the same steps that we have done for many years in this district. And then at the end of March, we got together and we had those presentations. We did our votes as we always have, and we have the results from that. I think they came out very similar to as they have in the past. Hopefully this will come up here. Okay. Basically what this chart shows you is that if during the budgeting process we get to the point where we need to make some cuts and some reductions, this is the order in which those cuts would be done if we stayed true to the program budgeting process. We would start with curriculum assessment, and their 2% reduction would amount to $16,000, and you can see the cumulative cost savings there on the side in column E. If everyone had to take a 2% cut, we could find $1.2 million if we had to, which is not very positive. I don't think that we did anything different. I think this kind of came out as it always has in the past, where the money is being saved at the very end for education, for students. I mean, it all affects education, but you can tell they were trying to impact the students and the staff at the very end. It was interesting for me going through the process for the first time this year to deal with the committees, and I sat in on numerous meetings and the questions that were asked. When these departments are asked to make these cuts, there's a lot of thought that goes into every one of their decisions, and a lot of creative thinking in trying to minimize the impact to their students, to their ability to teach and educate, and most importantly, how can we minimize the impact to people? What can we do creatively to find money elsewhere or do something different with what we're doing now to try and save some dollars? So it was very interesting, just going through that process, and unfortunately they've had to continually shave away for many years now, and they're to the point where a lot of them, there's not much left to cut, but yet they're still finding very creative ways to do it if they can. Any questions?
It would be helpful to have a column over there on reduced personnel.
Okay.
Because some of those programs, as I recall, they just really didn't have anything to cut except people. And so it would be something to be mindful of, I guess.
Absolutely, I will definitely add that for next year and going forward. Do you remember, Steve, the total, if we had to go all the way to the bottom, how many people would have been
Yeah, I
impacted?
don't know off the top of my head.
Sorry to put you on the spot like that.
But there was, in certain blocks, some of the bigger numbers, I think there were, classroom paras and things like that were identified. It would certainly be helpful to be mindful of that.
I can tell you off the top of my head a few of them, but I couldn't give you the total. Other questions?
I think if I could just comment, looking at, like, say, the elementary instruction, if you're looking at the personnel, the reduction in personnel was small this year because they were making a huge cut in one line item to try to save, I think, 2 to 4 additional teachers, not paras, but actual, not that paras aren't important, but teachers in the classroom, which is going to end up increasing our classroom size at some point eventually. But instead they cut out textbooks because they figure they can go a year without putting the money in there, but knowing that next year they're going to have to do it and they're going to have to cut more teachers. So, talking about personnel, it's not just, they're looking forward to what they need to do next year as well.
And if I could expound on that, I believe in that circumstance, Laura, their point was that the 100% next year will be not 100%. It will actually result in positions lost next year, with sort of delay effect. Hoping to temporarily bridge any any need for reduction.
I think there's a lot of that, and they were just hoping for the best for next year. We'll try to slide by one more year and then hope something better will come along and we won't have that to make those cuts.
Other question?
Professional development, how does that factor in here? Is it all over the place?
It's actually in curriculum and assessment, isn't it?
Most of it.
Most of it's in there.
There's gonna be some professional development that's paid for out of, well, potentially any of those budgets. But I think the biggest bulk of it is gonna be the curriculum and assessment.
Every building, every high school, the middle school, the elementary schools, all have cost centers. They have money in their building budget, and they can appropriate X amount of that money for staff development. They have choices of how they allocate that money. So our up-and-coming trip is for staff development, with the model schools conference. A high percentage of that is paid for by the cost centers. Also is paid for by grants. We have a grant from the state, and that's paid for almost all of the intermediate schools that are going or participating in that activity. And then some is paid for out of Dr. Dennis's budget and instruction. That's Dr. Carlin said.
And technology has a little bit of an in-service budget, and there are some federal grant dollars where that comes from, and some of them that specifically, essentially require that's all they can be used for as professional development.
I can make another comment, I'm sorry. Looking at this list, I know a lot of people would probably say your only impact in classroom are probably lines 17, 18, and 19, just on its face. High school instruction, middle school instruction, and elementary instruction. And the rest of the money isn't really an impact on the classroom. I think that's a perception that's out there, which is frustrating, because if we don't have transportation, our kids aren't going to be entering that classroom. If we don't have activities, we're not going to be able to teach kids beyond the classroom. If we don't have counseling and we've got a kid with an issue, it's going to be not only impacting that student, but impacting the students in the classroom, that teacher in the classroom. If it's a team, multiple teachers, I mean, every one of those is directly impacting the classroom. So just because it says transportation, it's still directly impacting the classroom, and I think people need to realize that as well.
Do we know where we're at as far as revenue projections, given the signing of the bill today?
We're getting close.
I'm looking for a smile on your face to see if it's positive or negative.
What we're gaining from the law the governor signed is very positive for regards to public schools.
Other questions? Thank you, KJ. Board open discussion. I want to take the opportunity to thank the board for the opportunity to go to the National School Board Convention. Share some materials that we picked up. What did I learn? What we're doing, first grade, second grade readiness, is a key component to creating a college and career ready district. But it's very much came across start early and create that philosophy in your district. Also had an opportunity to sit in on a presentation by this DonorsChoose.org. And it was interesting from the standpoint of it's a way for teachers to access funds for projects outside of the traditional methods. And I can't remember the term they used, but it's the new way to donate. Because there's all types of these websites set up for museums, for all kinds of different ways to be philanthropic. So it's very interesting, particularly for an old dinosaur like me to sit there and look at these computer guys just go all over these places. There's some information here from California on a program they're using to help develop the success of English language learners and the Common Core College and Career Ready. And to be perfectly honest, I think we're ahead of the curve compared to what I was hearing in that session. It did provide a lot of information. Also set in on a presentation by the Sci-Fair District in the Houston area on their new arrival centers. And my takeaway on that from them was when you're operating new arrival centers or new arrival classrooms or whatever form you use, make sure it's for new arrivals and don't allow yourself to utilize it for struggling students that have been there. They also very much stress a very proactive set of criteria for the teachers they put into those centers. They're very targeted. I took it very targeted internally within their district to go to a teacher and say, hey, we think you would fit this, you know, and take advantage of that strength. One of the most, I guess, exciting things I picked up off the trade show floor is this International Training Institute. It's a sheet metal and air conditioning industry, secondary education. It was a very good opportunity for us to tie into them so our kids can tuition-free move into that. There's a contact in Wichita, and don't know how it works, don't know if it fits, but on the surface, it appears to offer another opportunity for us to give our kids an opportunity to step into a very well-paying job. Because he said they will guarantee, if a kid comes to them, they will guarantee 100% placement. So, yeah, please do. This is, and again, thank you for the opportunity. It was very interesting, and I felt like I learned a lot. I would strongly encourage anyone interested next year to go visit Nashville. And yes, Rick and I did eat good.
I reported on that while you were gone. You were eating well.
Didn't always know what we were eating, but it was good. Thank you. I asked Laura her comments on the legislative coffee. Excuse me.
We did talk about education a little bit on Saturday. Senator Powell was present, and as was Representative Dahl. Representative Jennings had a death in the family, so condolences to him and his family. So he was not able to be there. Two of our teachers asked questions with regard to, especially Senator Powell's vote on the bill that the governor signed into law today with regard to teacher tenure. There was one other, was she retired? Teacher from Lincoln?
I couldn't find her name on their website, so I don't know if she must have been former.
She teaches in the arts, and she teaches regularly, but I
I know she had said she was from Lincoln when she introduced herself. And she spoke on the other side of where our teachers were talking, and provided a different perspective, which was good. I think the information that was presented by both Senator Powell and Representative Dahl were good for our teachers and for me to hear as well with regard to their take on the bill. And I think Representative Dahl's frustration with the bill, at least with the policy aspects of it, was how the policy aspects came into it. He said that they were convened, I want to say, at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, and they got done around 4 o'clock Sunday morning. And he didn't appreciate that it was just kind of thrown in without formal hearing, taking testimony. He thought it could have waited a little bit, it sounded like, to try to flush some of those details out. And I think that has been the frustration that I've heard, is that the policies weren't fully vetted, so to speak. I think Representative Dahl was willing to compromise on some of those issues, but wasn't given the opportunity to, because nothing was in committee. It just kind of happened from before. So, and then there were some other issues that were discussed as well. So, but those were the ones pertaining to us.
Any other comments or discussion?
I participated in a program called Reality View, which is put on through communities and schools. It's the first time I had the opportunity to participate in that program. I think it's an outstanding program. What it applied to the freshmen, and students were given a life scenario based on their GPA, and they were given, whether they were married, single, divorced, how many children they had, what their income would be based on their interests in their career fields, and they had to go around to different booths and determine what it would cost to live if they were, I think, 26 is the base age, and so they put a budget together. So I worked in the child care budget their section, and so they'd come and they'd tell me how many kids they had, if they were the responsible parent at the time, and we could work out how much they'd have to pay for child care. And there were a lot of kids that were just like, wow, I didn't know it cost so much to take care of kids, and a lot of eye-opening experiences went around the room. So I was just really impressed with how the program went.
Good.
Attended the classified staff meeting, is that right? Are they classified?
Yes.
And just very impressed with, we go to the staff meetings of the teachers, and you have the passion of the teachers, but the classified staff had just as much passion for the school. It was pretty nice to see that. And Laura was there, and I was very impressed by it. They all care about their schools, just like the teachers, so the kids are good. Just wanted to share
Yeah,
that.
just to dovetail onto that, as you recall, the board last year asked us to expand the board faculty meetings to include the classified staff. This was our effort to do so this year, and I think they really appreciated having the opportunity to have board representation. And they stated a lot of the good things that were going on in their buildings and what they were doing, and they shared some legitimate concerns that we need to address. And just for your information, we have concluded all the board faculty meetings. We still have about 5 of them, 6 to include the classified meeting, to finish up some logistical things on it, and then get that out to you, and then we'll see all of them again. But we are finished for the year, all of the board faculty meetings. So.
Couple of comments I'd like to make, Mr. President. First of all, I got to go to some of the competition with band and orchestra over in Dodge here recently, and chorus, and kids did an outstanding job. One of the things I noted with our frugality in staffing, kids find themselves at times competing in various rooms without a teacher or a representative present. And to me, that's like having a wrestling tournament where the kid's wrestling and there's no coach. Because one of the things that sets up is if the judgment and the criticism of the kid's performance needs to be taken exception to. No one can do that but the representative adult for USD-457, present there in the competition with the child. So we're essentially, in all this balancing and frugality, we have to realize that we have kids working hard to go to competition to excel, but with no representation. And so, that's a programming thing, and that's part of all this weighing of staff resources. I just noted that. Some of that just might be scheduling of, no control of, say, Mr. Soba. It just, the kids are scheduled, and this is when they perform. So that's a challenge there from the standpoint of being frugal on those resources. But again, I equate that, we have outstanding kids everywhere, in sports as well as in music. And to the extent that they're asked to perform without that supervision, that's an awkward situation for us as a district, I think. And so just deal with it, take it for what it's worth, kind of thing. On this professional development, I noticed that the president here put out some information that happens to note that board members need professional development and can benefit from that, just like our excellent staff in the schools. In that process of supporting that professional development everywhere, I think we need to look for opportunities to be frugal. And so I'll simply put out that wild notion that if we have 40-plus professionals all going to the same professional development event, what's the difference in cost, a bus versus 40 airline tickets? So that's just an example of where I think we want to continue to be vigilant on where we can be frugal. Particularly if we're faced, and to the extent we're not, then maybe we don't have to be dramatic. But if we are looking at cutting people, I think we need to be as frugal as we can to avoid those situations. Because again, if we are finding in those cost centers ways to send staff to these events, ultimately those cost centers, if they have monies left over, go generally to the teacher and to the classroom, unless I'm wrong. And so, again, there's a real challenge there at the building level as well as at the district level. And so I just make those comments. The last thing I want to point out, Mr. President, is that we have great middle schools. And with some of the restructuring we've done, we have some really neat opportunities. And I hope that we continue to look for ways to benefit the kids and overcome any staffing challenges or scheduling challenges that may pop up. And so that we can make best use of facilities and best use of event opportunities and our facilities in a way that doesn't, well, it just benefits the kids. And I'm thinking specifically, as a recent example, middle school track scheduling, track events. And that's an issue, I think, more for Dr. Atha and the leadership here to work out with those individual schools and staffs. But that's certainly something we want to strive for so that the kids benefit and we can overcome any sort of professional team challenges. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other comments?
If I I could dovetail off one of Mark's issues, with the legislative coffee as well. Senator Powell made a comment that, even legislators need professional development, and that they are paying some amount this year that didn't get paid last year, allowing for the legislators to get professional development. So, I think it's a key thing to make sure that everyone is doing to make us better.
Well, I think it, as the brochure points out, the professional development we offer through USD-457 is a huge selling point to a lot of these teachers coming in. So everything we can do to be, continue that, to be proactive.
Just a comment. One of the things this district has is a culture of learning. Not every district has that. One of the reasons this district has a culture of learning is because of the targeted staff development, the professional development opportunities that's been provided to staff through the years. I know taking 40 people to Orlando seems like a lot of people to take. But it is directly related to what we're trying to accomplish in the implementation of the college and career state standards. There's a direct correlation. And if you look at the dollars spent on this through the years, we have spent significantly more several years ago before the economic downturn than what we're spending today. We had a little lull during the economic downturn where we put a moratorium on staff development to show a good faith effort that we were in some down times here. But we couldn't do that indefinitely. If we're going to hit the marks that we need to hit academically for our kids and to provide for our teachers, that's one of the things that's attractive to teachers when they come to the school district. I would argue that when our teachers are with us, 3 years, they can leave here and go anywhere. Some choose to stay with us, and we want them to all choose to stay with us. But our teachers are well-trained, or they have the opportunity to be well-trained. So it's an investment that we're placing in our staff, and one that this district historically, long before me taking the helm as superintendent, it's part of our culture. And but I want to be hesitant, because we are in a public meeting here. We are sending 40-some people to this meeting, and it is a national meeting. Certainly, we can look at other ways as opposed to flying there or taking a bus or whatever the case may be, and I'm open to that. But when you look at it overall, we're not spending more money now than what we did 5 years ago. We're spending less. Just want to make that point.
Any other discussion?
Mr. President, I move we go into executive session.
Next Board of Education meeting will take place Monday, May 5th at 6 p.m. here.
Sorry, great, get going, all right. I move we go into executive session at 7:35 for 45 minutes to reconvene at 8:20 for purpose of discussing matters relating to employer-employee negotiations. Because if this matter were discussed in open session, it might jeopardize resolution of